Hello, thank you for joining us. Internet of Things, or IoT, has been regarded as one of the most exciting opportunities in today's world. 2015 saw a lot of big players venture into IoT. IBM invested $3 billion, AT&T announced a record 1.6 million connected devices. Samsung declared its commitment to connecting everything it sells by 2020 and more. As we near the end of 2016, we would like to know how far has IoT entered our lives and what are the opportunities that remain. Joining us for the second time is Silicon Valley-based tech executive and Vice President of Strategic Marketing at Siemens Digital Grid, Sonita Lontoh. Sonita, thank you. Welcome to The Perspective. It's good to see you again.
Good to see you again. Thank you.
We had a lot of conversation about IoT last year, the emergence of IoT. So as I said earlier, there has been a lot of giant tech companies that look into IoT and how it can invest and monetize the industry. How has the progress been in 2016?
Yeah, great question. And actually, Flo, thank you again for having me here. Very good to be here for the second time. I think there has been a lot of developments in IoT in the last year or so. As you said, a lot of the big players, I think, are getting into, they have been in this industry for a while, but right now it's getting more and more serious, you know, like that's how I would say. So when you really think about it, there are three factors really that determine IoT. First is connectivity, and then second is two-way communication. So connectivity for all the devices and human as well, you know, in certain instances, and then two-way communications that will enable the devices to talk to each other. And then the third thing would actually be applications and analytics. So what we have seen in 2016, of course, more and more devices are being digitalized, you know, so they're more connected. They have two-way communication, so they can communicate to each other. But what the trend has been, I would say, in 2016 is that there are more applications right now that are being built on top of the connectivity and the two-way communication.
Just on top of your head, how many applications are out there in 2016?
Oh my God! You know what? Like I would be so. I would say maybe like there are hundreds of applications, of course, right? But maybe the big ones, especially where I'm from, you know, in the industrial world, I would say probably like 10 to 15 big applications, you know? So one of the biggest applications is actually leveraging analytics. So, you know, you have all this data, you know, like billions of data, you know, like being communicated to each other. But data doesn't mean anything, right? Unless you can make sense of what the data is telling you and you can do something about it. And that's really where analytics come in. So a lot of these big companies are leveraging, you know, the data to enable analytics to help to improve efficiencies and asset management. So let me give you an example. So let's say you have a very expensive asset, let's say like a jet turbine, which is very expensive, right? So in the past, you know, the jet may have some sensors, but the sensors were not connected to, let's say, like a centralized system to be able to tell, you know, the owner of the jet that, you know, here's how the machine is doing, when it will fail, and what it needs for maintenance. But right now, the machine can actually, the smart sensors is, you know, giving this data to the owner, and then many big companies are enabling analytics so that the owner can know before the engine fails to actually provide predictive maintenance. So that's actually one of the biggest applications in kind of like the industrial world, is to enable the millions of data on very expensive assets to enable asset maintenance so that the asset can actually live longer and actually can serve, you know, whoever it's serving better.
I understand Rolls-Royce is one of those giant companies that has put these sensors that tells them even before it takes off or it takes flight, even before a crack is going to happen, they would know that that's going to happen. That helps them to produce better engines and
exactly,
and what have you.
Because industrial IoT, because of the connectivity, the analysis, and the data, so you have the real thing, but it also enables a digital twin. So there is a digital twin of the same engine where people do simulations and modeling, and that's really what's enabling the predictiveness, you know, of like the analysis to help, you know, the real engine perform better.
Now we see a lot of investment flowing in 2015 from these big companies into producing or making sure connectivity increases. And has this number or has this escalated in 2016?
Oh, definitely, yeah. And actually what we have seen, not just investments, but purchases, you know. So for instance, my company Siemens, I think we just announced a few days ago, we bought Mentor Graphics from Silicon Valley for $4.5 billion. And then, of course, all of our other friends in the industry, I'm not going to mention names, but we have many other companies who are also buying other, smaller companies to basically strengthen the portfolio and the ecosystem.
Right, right. Now, with this increase you're mentioning, there is a number of concerns, of course, because of that. Because there's many open front in the Internet of Things, the sensors, connectivity, security is an issue here. So how do you think the industry has responded with the escalated number of or increase of the awareness and also usage of IoT? This has been followed with that security insurance of the data that goes transferred, vice versa.
Sure, definitely. Actually, security is a big issue for everyone, so not just in the industrial world, but also in the consumer world. And of course, with a lot of the news that we've heard with the hacking, into certain systems, security is just the #1 priority, I think, for many CEOs and many boards. In the industrial world, what's interesting, security doesn't just encompass cybersecurity, which is, which is basically cybersecurity is about data, but also the physical world.
Physical security.
Physical security as well. So in our world, we have to manage the physical world and the kind of IT world, right? So you have to ensure security into both. So what we've seen, like a lot of new systems are coming into place to ensure that the physical world and the internet technology world, IT world is kind of intersecting together. And then
does this put more pressure on the IT staffers and the ecosystem by having
definitely. It does put more pressure because, first of all, the regulations, or let's say in the US, there are regulatory bodies who kind of spell out what are the security requirements that you have to comply with. So of course, for them, this is a new world that they have to kind of straddle both worlds, right? And then second thing, what I want to share with you and the audience is that security is not just in the system, but also in the culture of the company. So I think if you instill a safe security or safety culture in the company, that everyone follows, procedures, everyone follows, the security steps that he or she is supposed to follow, then security can be. I don't think it would ever be possible to ensure 100% security, but at least you will mitigate the risk that security breach will happen. So I guess my message here is sure, security will have to marry the physical world and the kind of IT world, and at the same time, you also have to instill a security culture in the way the company or the customers or the ecosystems doing business.
To reduce the footprint of irregularities within the company, to ensure you have better security of the data and access to Internet of Things. We'll talk more about IoT with Sonita when we come back.